Hi everybody. So you have Zach Villarreal here, and I'm gonna discuss my final paper here about how to integrate faith in the public schools as a public school teacher. So I'm just gonna kind of outline and highlight some key points that I talked about in my paper and some strategies for how I plan to integrate faith into my classroom. So here we go. So I want to start by sharing a piece of scripture that I think will guide me in what I want to do as a teacher and in incorporating my faith into the classroom. So it's from 2 Timothy 3:16, and it says, "All Scripture is God-breathed and is useful for teaching, rebuking, correcting, and training in righteousness." I think ultimately, as a teacher, we need to understand our influence that we have on youth and how we can use Scripture to be beneficial and profitable to educating our students on how to be righteous and make morally correct decisions, as well as using Scripture to be constructive in correcting our students when they are struggling to learn something, and also showing them love and caringness so that they can feel a sense of belongingness when in your classroom and help them grow as learners and promote them to be lifelong learners. So some strategies that I found for faith integration that in the interviews I conducted with some teachers was they were very common across the field. Things like praying over students individually, um, leading by example and making sure that your actions reflect your Christian principles, making all your decisions with a Christian mindset, and just remembering to use your faith when in a moral dilemma. For instance, if you know another teacher is taking shortcuts or kind of cheating their way through their lessons and not really doing their job as a teacher, you should definitely speak out against this. And I think this is something that I'll struggle with, but will continue to work on because I don't want to cause any issues or controversy, but at the same time, I need to, as a Christian, hold myself and coworkers accountable for making a difference in the students' everyday learning. One story in particular that I heard that very much impacted me was from Sean Dickers, who's the chair of the education department at Bethel. And he told me that he prayed, when he was a teacher, he would pray over his students individually to start each day by sitting in their desks and praying for every student who would be sitting in that desk to start that day. And I just found that to be really committed and really strong for making a vast difference in your teaching, and also just showing how much as a Christian you're committed to reflecting your principles and ethics to make a difference in your students' everyday learning. In my paper, I also talked a lot about how, as even though as a teacher it can be difficult to incorporate our Christian faith and ethics in the public school setting, it's also important to remember that it's difficult to incorporate your faith into every aspect of your life when you really think about it, and it's really essential to not compartmentalize your faith and just understand that it's not just a Sunday thing. It's not just something that is allotted a certain time slot. It's something that needs to be reflected in your everyday interactions on a daily basis. In addition to just understanding the influence and responsibility you have as a Christian to reflect a Christian mindset and attitude to contribute to a positive learning experience. I think it's also really important to pray for opportunities from God to integrate your faith into the classroom or the workplace in general. For instance, in one of the interviews I talked about, one way the teacher integrated her faith was by praying for opportunities to display her faith in the classroom and in the public school setting. And sure enough, she spoke on how some students came to her looking for an advisor to sponsor their youth Bible study group, and she was happy to accept. And she's been doing it for a couple of years now, and that's just another really great way to integrate your faith into the classroom as a public school teacher. I shared these images because, like I said earlier, I think it's hard sometimes to understand the importance of your Christian ethics in the classroom and making the right and wrong decision, especially if it's going to affect your coworkers negatively. But at the end of the day, we need to be accountable and we need to hold ourselves responsible as Christians to make that everlasting difference. In addition, I also shared this respect, responsibility, honesty, and caring image because they're the core values of the YMCA organization, which it is actually a Christian organization. But I just think these values are super essential in promoting your Christian attitude and your faith integration at the workplace by holding your students accountable to be respectful, responsible, honest, and caring about their learning and the others they encounter every day. I think that's also a great way to integrate your faith into the educational setting. Lastly, my plan for becoming a Christian professional is to just be comfortable with myself as a Christian and understand and be prepared to answer the difficult questions about my faith. Finding my fellow coworkers who are also Christians so that we can pray together and also figure out more ways to integrate our faith into the classroom. And most importantly, having a strong relationship or rapport with my students. That's the best way to make a difference in the learning, is to just have students who trust you and feel comfortable around you so that you can promote a safe and efficient learning environment. And by building strong relationships with your students, it'll definitely make a big difference in their learning. And in doing that, you're also able to promote righteousness and help them to be lifelong learners. And I think that when you do this as a Christian, it makes it much easier for them to accept and be comfortable with you because they know that there's something different about you. And at the end of the day, that's my most important goal, is to be able for my students, their parents, and my fellow coworkers tell that there's something different about me and the way I teach, just because my Christian values and ethics are reflecting who I am as a person and where I want to go. But that highlights the key points in my paper. Thanks for a great class, everyone, and I hope the rest of the year goes really well as we all adjust into our workplaces and professions. Thank you, Zach.